Bicycles explain why there's so many influencer videos being shot right now in Japan. So if you go to Japan right now, it's really kind of cheap. So a lot of folks who are travel influencers are flying there. I'm right by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York City, which is kind of interesting. The Federal Reserve takes a look at things, steers where money's flowing. It's kind of avoid some problems in the economy, like inflation. And we saw a big bout with inflation with the pandemic. Interest rates went down close to zero as a way to boost economic growth when everything was shut down because we didn't know how to deal with the pandemic. And that caused a whole bunch of spending to occur. People weren't going out, they weren't going to work, and the Federal Reserve was like, well, we got to do something about it. So they drove interest rates down towards zero. The side effect of that is once we started to get back to work, those interest rates stayed low. And that meant that when we were back at work, we started spending a whole bunch of money, buying a whole bunch of stuff, buying a whole bunch of cars and homes. And then prices started to go up, which caused problems. So you had to turn where the economy was going. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates to slow down the economy. When you raise interest rates, you make it better to save cash. You put it in your savings account, you earn a better return. You're not tempted as much to spend it on other things. That would slow down economic growth a little bit, to slow down inflation. The side effect of that is that when you raise interest rates, you can make the dollar stronger when other countries can't raise their interest rates like the Federal Reserve can. So that means that other countries have money, and if they want to get a safe return, they're going to try to give it to America. They're going to get the dollar, and the dollar gets stronger as people are buying it. Look at the dollar like a product that people are buying. Now, underneath this building is a whole bunch of gold, and it's split between a whole bunch of different countries. And you move it from Japan to the American side in the basement here, or over to England, or over to France, or over to Nigeria, whatever you're talking about. And that counts for some of the money that's flowing between the different countries. And what's happening is that the interest rates of Japan are low. So if you're in Japan, you want to try to buy dollars. You want to try to invest in America because you're getting a better payback there. And that means that the yen in Japan gets a little bit less strong. So when the yen falls with respect to the dollar, it means that if you want to go from America to Japan and you transfer your dollars into yen, you're going to get more for your buck. Everything in Japan is on sale. Now, the problem is that not everything in Japan is on sale because we price gasoline and petroleum in dollars. And a lot of stuff in Japan runs on gasoline, like cars. Take a look at Toyota and Honda. They haven't come out with an electric car yet because their technology is a little bit dated. They haven't electrified as fast as America. When the dollar gets strong, petroleum gets expensive, gasoline gets expensive, and all of a sudden Japan is in a tight spot where their costs are going up and they want to try to boost the economy, but they're not able to raise their interest rates. So they're trying to boost their economy, so they don't want to raise interest rates. But because they're not raising interest rates, money flows out of Japan to America, and yeah, you're stuck in a whole problem. So when you want to steer a bike, you counter steer a little bit. To go right, you have first turn left. To go left, you first turn right, and you've got to steer before. If I turn right when I'm at the intersection here, I'll probably fall over. I have to plan before my turn. And this is what the Federal Reserve is doing with interest rates. You're counter steering a little bit and you're planning before the turn. So the Federal Reserve is trying to predict where interest rates will be, where the Federal Reserve is trying to predict where inflation will be in the future, and they're trying to plan ahead of time to steer around problems in the economy. Is the economy growing fast? Then you've got to raise interest rates. If the economy is growing too slow, you want to lower interest rates because that impacts our jobs. That affects unemployment and a whole bunch of other things. If you lower interest rates too soon, inflation comes back. But if you wait too long, then you miss your turn, and all of a sudden, inflation's not so much a problem. But if you wait too long, you could have a financial crisis, and all of a sudden, people are unemployed. You've dealt with inflation, but now there's a whole bunch of other problems. And what we could see here is that the Federal Reserve might be paying attention to other countries right now, like Japan, because if they run into a whole bunch of problems, that impacts the global economy, and that eventually hits us. If you take a look at 1998, there was the Asian financial crisis, and that ended up causing some problems here in America. It's almost like steering a bike when you're working at the Federal Reserve Bank, but you're dealing with every country in the world and financial crises all over the world. And it's super complicated with all of these jobs. Federal Reserve is just like riding a bicycle.